Welcome back to the new School Sensei podcast. I'm your host, Lance Douglas, Twins Martial Arts. We're in here, the man himself, Adam Meyers. I'm trying to think of a really good nickname for you. I don't want to call you the Bull Shark because that's from another podcast.
Yeah.
It's almost like a gorilla. He's all over it. That's how you wrestled me the other day.
Yeah,
this
that's
guy,
true.
literally, I think I pulled guard.
Yeah.
You just got a grip and just didn't let go, just all over me.
Yeah.
So, similar to Ken, like a wet blanket.
Yeah,
But I feel like you had a bit more athleticism, so I'll go gorilla.
It's like Ken's more like a really annoying snake on your leg.
Yeah.
Once he gets that single leg X, it's very hard to play with him. I'm like dragging him around like a kid. He's still on my leg though. I feel like my heel's gonna turn the wrong way soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Kenny. So speaking of Kenny, I think this is a good topic, discipline.
Yeah.
Ooh. So there's a lot of ways we could take this. Just recently, I started watching the new season of Cobra Kai.
Okay.
So you've got, if you got the Cobra Kai dojo, discipline, literally using it more like a verb, dishing out punishments.
Mm-hmm.
Miyagi-Do, the discipline's a little bit different. So talk us through, Adam, what's your approach to discipline? What do you think it means? And then how do you relate it back to your students?
Whoa, that's a very big question. It's a very loaded question. I think discipline is doing the things that might be uncomfortable, but you do them anyway for the greater benefit of yourself. So having personal discipline is something that all people struggle with at certain points. Even myself, as a high-level fighter, I still struggle with discipline day to day. Sometimes, I'll grab a 10-pack of chicken nuggets on the way home, and you kind of break that cycle of a good diet, or maybe one day you don't want to go training and stuff. What's more important is that when you don't want to do something, but you do it anyway, that's discipline. Because doing it is better for you than not doing it. I think there's obviously gaps, and there's a wider conversation about that topic in itself. But when we relate it back to martial arts schools, discipline for the students is about a couple things. Firstly, it's respect for the instructor, for the coach. Secondly, it's respect for themselves. I do that in that order specifically, and I'll get to that as well. Thirdly, it's about learning that sometimes things take a long time, and I think for kids, especially kids martial arts, man, that's tough with constant affirmation and constant reward on the screens. Kids now are getting a lot worse. They're not as naturally disciplined as maybe they were 10 years ago, because now it's kind of like the battle is to get them to stick to something for a year or two, versus doing.
We're finding that as well. A lot of parents are telling us just for them to stick at something.
Yeah.
It's definitely a challenge.
Yeah, and you hate to kind of sound like the old guy in the room, right? But we used to be the young coaches, and now we're kind of getting a little bit older, in our 30s now. I can't imagine being in our 40s.
But we're 32. We've done a lot of training.
We've done a lot of training. Yeah, I've spent a lot of time in the sun, man.
Yeah.
A lot of time in the sun, a lot of time under the bright lights, So I think for students, it's really important to have those three constructs. The reason I put instructor first is because in a classroom setting and in life in general, there is normally someone in charge of you. That's just a reality, right? We can always say that everyone has freedom and they can freedom of choice and all that kind of stuff. You do mainly, yeah, sure. But in work, at school, at home, even with your partner or your wife or whatever, you're going to have situations where you're going to have to do what someone else says at a certain point. So I think what kids learn in martial arts is respect for authority, which is really, really important later on as they get into their working lives as adults. I actually think that besides confidence, or even maybe equal with confidence, it's probably the most important life skill they get out of martial arts training. There's obviously healthy eating and healthy lifestyle and exercise and that kind of stuff. But I think learning to be disciplined is so widely and universally applicable to everything else in their lives. It's the most valuable thing that you can get out of doing a 3, 4, 5-year program, even if you get the black belt and leave. Having done something for 5 years in a row, man, you can definitely do uni now. You can definitely work a corporate ladder or work a job and stay disciplined even when it's raining outside and you do what you have to do. It's way more important than the other things.
Yeah, it's one of the things a lot of parents will come in, they think discipline will mean something, but then they'll get something else, and it's more important for them.
Yeah.
Because I guess some parents will want more the discipline, as in if the kid acts up, they've got someone else to kind of punish them.
Yeah.
Because I'm a parent, it's actually easier if it comes from someone else.
Right.
Because your child won't necessarily they've heard it all before.
Yeah.
I'm sure you would, you're hearing a lot from other parents, I've had like the parents will take me to the side like, oh, can you just discipline a little bit, go really hard on him.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking in my head, yeah, nah. But then I'll say, yeah, I'll make sure I'll think about that. So I won't promise it, but I've said, I'll think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I when that has happened to me a couple of times as well. It's always normally the dads. Have you noticed that? That the dads do that to me.
I've had a couple of mums.
Really? Yeah.
To be honest,
I've had a couple of mums. Really, that might be different demographically. I've had a lot of dads come up to me and be like, alright, like this is him. Just telling you, no matter what happens, if he stuffs up, it's all good. Like, you figure it out, okay? I'm like, yeah, I'll figure it out. It's all good. I'm probably not going to slap him, but it sounds like they would be cool with me to hit him sometimes. We definitely don't do that, obviously.
I've had to tell some parents, we're just going to have to refer you on because we've got a different approach.
Yeah. I think that's really funny. So that's a really good point. There's two extremes there. I think most people sit in the middle, in that middle band. 90% of parents are pretty much the same. They want their kids to listen to authority. Yeah, there might be, all kids are naughty a little bit. No one's perfect. They want their kid to come in, get a bit of discipline, confidence, etc. But from a discipline point of view, you get these parents who sometimes, if their kid has acted up, like for example, we've had students before where, let's say little Bobby comes in and he pushes little Kenny over and Kenny starts crying. Here's the response from two different parents. One parent will say, Bobby, why did you push Kenny over? You shouldn't have done that. That wasn't good behaviour. Which I think is the appropriate response. The other parent says, well, what did Kenny do to him first? And now we're talking about whether or not Bobby was right to do whatever he wanted to do with no discipline or self-control. So that's a different approach. When we have parents like that, we refer them on. We refer them on because we can't have a structure in the classroom where bad behaviour is always excusable. Some bad behaviour isn't excusable. In the real world, it's not excusable. Imagine if you went to work and you were an hour late and you said, yeah, it's just traffic. And then it happened like a lot. Eventually, that's on you, man. You're the common denominator there, right?
100%.
Yeah. When someone, when someone's had like 5 or 6 dealings with the same person, 5 or 6 people have had the same experience with the same person.
Yeah.
You think at a certain point, man, it's probably that person.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. I will say it's good. I can give you a little bit of pushback, which is nice.
Yeah.
So, and you would say the same thing. So, working with diverse needs students.
Yes.
Totally different ball game.
Yeah, very different.
So, I'd probably not pushback, but just, I don't know, if you can work one-on-one, if you're doing a private, because for me, I'm doing a lot of NDIS physio, then there's, a lot of leeway, and you kind of work with the student and, what they're dealing with, if they've got Down syndrome or ASD or, if they're in a wheelchair, whatever. Whereas, obviously, if you're running a group class, then we have to, you have to do different things to manage.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely a group class different than
and you'd have a lot of wild stories from working in the diverse needs field.
Yeah, at special ed, it's very different.
How do they go anyway? Like, they eventually got to get reintroduced into society.
Yeah.
Like, how will they manage? Or is it just they've always got a carer?
No, so my school was in the middle. So there's SDS where it's below 70 IQ. Below 50 IQ. We have 50 to 70. So these are the kids that are 5 to 7 years behind at school.
Yeah.
By the time they're in grade 3. They're in prep level, and by the time they're in year 7, they might be at grade 1 level. So just the rate of progression is just super slow because they have low IQ. Behavior wise though, socially and communicatively, they're almost always, they don't present as having a disability of any kind, intellectual disability or ASD, ADHD, etc., any comorbidity at all. So when you have someone approach you and you actually might not know they have 2 or 3 disabilities. It's really hard to manage that kind of behaviour because you have a behaviour expectation in your head as an adult, right? So when it comes to special ed and those diverse needs kids especially, what you're trying to build is an independent adult. They're not really going to get reintroduced to mainstream school, probably, out of our setting. Not really. Anyway, very rarely that happens. But from a behaviour point of view, you might have a kid who, let's say a child with ASD, when we go on the train, we're going to the museum for the day for an excursion. That student might push his way onto the train in front of someone else. When the people are walking out of the train and someone goes first, you're supposed to wait for everyone to come out and then go in. Now, it's not a rule. It's kind of unwritten in society that happens, right? You let everyone else out first and you go in. Now, this kid just pushes through because the door's open, it's time to get on the train. He doesn't want to miss the train. So what you have to do is just a little mould of, hey, when people come out of a train, you don't do that. And you kind of these little... It's almost like making a vase. You just kind of build a big cube and you're just kind of pushing it together over like years and years and years. That's behaviour management for kids with special needs. You're going to let them get away with a little bit faster. A little bit more, and it's going to take a little bit longer. But With a neurotypical kid, you got to be like, hey man, that was really rude.
Yeah.
You probably shouldn't do that. And then they won't do it again. You have to be a little bit firmer because they're going to experience life in just a way different way.
Yeah. We'll bring it back to neurotypical kids because that's probably another chat, the diverse
That's
needs
true,
kids.
yeah. It's probably a whole other episode. Yeah.
So neurotypical kids, for us at Twins, for me personally when I'm running the class, so discipline, so same definition as you, Adam. So doing something hard, even though you don't want to, even though it is hard, but doing it anyway to reach a goal.
Yeah.
And then, so martial arts is cool because we have the belt system.
Yes.
So their goal is black belts. Now, it's not going to lie, it's going to take time. Could take 5 years, could take 10 years. I normally actually, if a kid asks me how long it takes, I always exaggerate it. I say, it's going to take you 10 to 15 years to get black belts. I'll always say more.
It's a big exaggeration.
Yeah.
Why do you exaggerate it? Why do you think that helps them?
Set the expectation. It's going to take a long time.
Yeah.
Because I don't want them to, if I say 5 years,
Yeah.
then really in their head they're thinking, okay, I want to get this done in 2 years.
Yeah. Okay.
I want them
Yeah.
saying 10 years, okay, stuff this guy, I'm doing it in 5.
Yeah. Okay. Right. And then they'll actually will do it in 5. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of run it.
Yeah.
So yeah, the belt system like inherently will help the kids. If they're always looking for the next belt, they have to follow the rules and they have to persevere to get the belt. If they quit at any point, then they don't reach the ultimate black belt.
Yeah.
So I think that's cool with our martial arts, with traditional martial arts. The next thing is so running a class which is so awesome and ending it with a bang.
Mm-hmm.
So you have that awesome game. This week we're running tug of war. So every kid wants to play tug of war. Now, if you're not following the rules and expectations, we use, 3-strike system. So you get 2 chances, which I think is fair. I'll tell the kids, you might be busy, you might be tired, you might be just, come straight from swimming. So
Yeah.
2 chances to disobey the rules. Third one, you're sitting on the carpet and you miss out on the end game.
Yeah.
So having those two layers in there, it just helps them, stay focused and then ultimately reaching their goal of black belt.
Yeah.
And then for the parents, for them to reach, to be really confident in yourself, to get good at martial arts, you have to spend time in the martial arts.
True. Yeah.
You're not going to get that goal doing 1 term of karate.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And that comes back to that factor of I need to keep moving forward and I need to keep at it. Otherwise, you don't get the lesson of discipline. If you just do, again, I like the way you talked about the exaggeration, but thinking about it now as you were talking is that the exaggeration is actually really helpful because kids actually don't have a concept of what 10 years is. So I think even saying 10 years to them as to an 8-year-old, they have no idea. That's double their whole life.
Sometimes I'll say 20 years.
Really throw them off.
100%.
Yeah. There's actually a concept in psychology, I can't remember what it's called, but it's this time lapse error in human nature. Whereas when you're 40, you can't imagine being 60 because it's more than half your life away. Whereas when you're 30, you can imagine being 40. Or when you're 40, you can imagine being 50 because it's close enough. But when something's too far, it's actually not imaginable in human nature. And kids definitely, because they're 8, they can't imagine grade 3. They can't even imagine being in grade 6 because they're so small still. They can't imagine being these big grade 6s or, when you think of a kid who's 8, and then in 5 years, they're so young, they're grade 3, they're so young. In 5 years' time, they're in year 8, and you're now you're a teenager, and you have all these other problems, and they grow up so quickly. So I think that time exaggeration is actually quite interesting. Back to the topic of discipline. When we're talking about discipline, we definitely don't talk about behavior as a consequence. We take it as a learning opportunity for the kid. I always say to my coaches that we're not trying to build amazing black belt kids. We're trying to build independent black belt adults. So we're trying to build a really good adult. Let's use an example. We have a student, and every time a female student partners with him, he goes way too hard and takes advantage. Okay? Now, that's not going to work when he's 25, and every time his partner talks to him, he overtalks her. Talks over her, or he's disrespectful. So that respect for, especially young girls, as young boys, we teach that. We nip that in the bud quick. That is a real quick nip in the bud. You're not to do that with anyone smaller than you or different, weaker than you physically. The opposite is true when it comes to the girls. Sometimes the girls come in and they're a bit bossy pants.
I've actually more instances of the girls bullying the boys.
Yeah,
even bashing the boys.
Yeah.
I've had in the last couple of years. I've had no
true.
instances of boys, but the girls
yeah,
bashing them. I've had to tell some of the girls, let's just go easy on
take
these
it
guys.
easy on them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a really interesting.
Flipped.
Yeah, it's flipped. That's right. I had a really interesting conversation with one of my parents just a few months ago, and I'm sure she won't mind me telling this story. I won't name the student or the parent, but she'll know if she listens. That she was concerned that none of the other boys wanted to spar her daughter because they didn't want to go with the girls because she was like, she's one of my other girls in this class, in a new class, and she was like asking me, I hope it's not like because they don't want to partner with her, she's going to miss out. I said, to be honest, they don't want to partner with her because every time they go with her, she destroys all of them and they're boys and they don't want to lose, So it's actually the opposite sometimes. Yeah, you're right. Well, back to my original point, what we do with the girls is, not the girls, but in general, bossy students who are trying to tell someone what to do. You can't have that as an adult. You can't be an adult telling everyone what to do all the time. So those are the things that we're really on behavior management-wise. That sense of superiority, we really try and quell that and balance it out. That everyone's respected and valued in their classroom community, and that translates to the actual community when they're adults.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a warning system, or how do you run it, just classroom management?
Yeah, we haven't had a warning system for quite a while. We didn't bring it back after COVID because we were a bit, to be honest, commercially, we're probably a bit concerned about being too hard on the kids after being away from school for so long. So we had it before, but we didn't bring it back. And then it just kind of faded away. We didn't ever reintroduce it. We were very concerned after COVID, after lockdowns, that kids would come in and struggle being in a classroom again. And that was the case. I'm sure you experienced that as well. So with behaviour management, we give the kids a stern warning the second time. The first time, we spotlight another student. So let's say, for example, Ken and Lance are in the class. Ken's acting up and you're doing an amazing job, Lance. When you're standing right next to Ken, I'll be like, Lance, great job. Yes, amazing work. And Ken's like, hey, I want some attention. It's actually probably why he's doing it in the first place, is to get my attention. Because they're either not challenged or they're just how they're used to gaining attention from others. So I'll spotlight you heavy. The second time he does it, I'll say, hey, if you do that again, I'm going to sit you out. This is the last chance. I'd love for you to keep doing the class, but you're going to sit out the next time you do it. And it's really important for my authority in the class and for them to realise that there's real consequences in the real world, that I sit them out the next time. Because if the next time he does it, if I don't sit him out, I now have no authority or power in the classroom. So the next time he does it, out straight away. Sorry, man, I did promise you, didn't I? And then they'll smile a little bit and like, yeah, you did promise me, actually, I'll sit you out. You sit down for 5 minutes, okay? I'll bring you back in 5 minutes. And we always tell them they're going to come back in too, otherwise they start crying. And yeah. You're not out for the whole class.
Give you a second chance.
I did tell you I was going to do it, and now you're out. Okay? And the kid goes and sits down. Before I bring them back in, I go over to them. And this rarely happens, to be honest, because normally the stern warning is enough. And because they know I'm serious, that's why. Yeah. And so it's only important, valuable, because they know I'm actually going to sit them out. If they think I'm not going to do anything anyway, if I say, all right, I'll give you a tape if you guys are good. And if everyone's bad, and I give them all tapes, well then what do I say? My power, my word is useless in class. So I make sure to go over to them when they're in the corner, and I bring them in. I don't make them face the wall or anything. They're still watching the class.
Old school.
Yeah, I don't make them face the corner and hit them with a ball.
Remember that in primary school, you face the corner.
Face the wall.
Get that?
Yeah, face the wall.
Put into our own primary school timeout, you'd face the corner.
Face the corner as well.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, face the corner. Yeah, I remember that as well. Yeah, and also I'm not learning for 10 minutes. Now it doesn't make any sense. So I still want the kids to be watching the class, but they're not participating, right, for a few minutes.
Yeah.
And so I'll go over and grab the kid and I'll say, hey, remember when I told you you're going to sit out if you did it again? That's why you sat out. So I re-explain why that happens, so they're not confused at all, because they have terrible memory. And then I say, you can come back in now, but remember, one more time, you're back in the corner again. And then I actually make them shake my hand.
Oh yeah, the shake, yeah.
Deal? A deal. Okay, back in there, let's go. Get your gloves on, let's go. Straight back in. And then it's back to fun again. Fun instructor again. Serious part's over. They've had their consequence. That's fair enough.
Enforcing the rules and expectations. With my wife Sophia, she's a couple of years a high school teacher, and one of the big things they learnt is enforcing the rules and expectations.
Yeah.
It's like being a police officer, yeah?
Yeah.
You see someone muck up, you have to give them a ticket.
Yeah.
Or if I was in a high school, you probably seen it back when you were in high school,
Yeah.
The teachers, they go, okay, next person mucks up, you're getting attention.
Yeah.
And it might be, the best student mucks up. It's like, well, I've said it, haven't I? So now the best student's got to get attention.
Yeah, that's true. And they probably didn't even cause the problem in the first place.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. They were just a victim to the snowball. Yeah.
You have to follow through.
Yeah,
if you don't follow through, then the kids, they're going to run all over you.
Yeah, 100%. I think that model as well leads into the workplace, because that's what it's like at work. If you start stuffing around at work, you're going to get a warning or two. And then the next time, it's going to be, see ya, goodbye. So that's a really important lesson for them to learn.
Yeah, I remember at Aldi, yeah, you had the 2 chances.
Yeah.
And the third time.
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
gone.
I remember I worked at BW as a teenager, and it was really they were always on like being on time. So
Yeah.
that was probably their main concern was being on time, and that lesson from BW because we were 1-2 minutes late, someone told us off every time, and it was almost like too much. It was almost like man, a minute, man. A customer grabbed me on the way, and that's okay, but it's still your responsibility to get here on time. And although it was a bit extreme, I'm now never late to anything.
It's part of the discipline.
It's part of the discipline.
You don't want to
That's right.
be. No one wants to be super early, but you
Yeah.
got to do it. You got to do it.
Yeah, yeah. It's an old saying, but it's almost better to be 5 minutes early than 1 minute late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not for Ken Douglas though.
Not for Ken Douglas. So we here 10 minutes late with no coffee.
He probably
for the
start
boys.
knocking on the glass house right now.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm here, guys.
Knocking on the studio. I got one coffee for myself. How you guys going?
What are we doing?
What are we doing? What episode are we up to? Let's start again.
There you go. Let's wrap up there. So another good one, all about discipline.
Yeah.
Hopefully, if you enjoyed listening, watching, give us a message. If you want more, just tell us what you want. Especially if there's any topics you want us to touch on. We're always going to have Adam in. He's one of our favourites.
Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, let me know, let Adam know. We'll see you on the next one. Oos.